What happens when one of Britain's most beloved morning television hosts comes face to face with entitled royal arrogance on live television? In just 12 seconds, a single dismissive comment would spark the most explosive daytime TV meltdown in recent memory, leaving viewers across the nation absolutely stunned as Prince Harry stormed off the Lorraine Kelly show in a fit of rage that no one saw coming. Last night's shocking confrontation has sent shockwaves through the media world, and we've got the exclusive inside story of exactly what went down in that ITV studio. This is the dramatic moment that everyone is talking about, the heated exchange that left Britain's sweetheart Lorraine Kelly standing her ground against royal entitlement gone completely out of control. It started like any other Tuesday morning on The Lorraine Show. The bright, cheerful studio was buzzing with its usual energy as Lorraine Kelly, wearing her signature warm smile and a vibrant blue blazer, prepared for what was supposed to be a routine interview about Prince Harry's latest charity initiative. The cameras rolled, the familiar theme music played, and viewers settled in with their morning cups of tea, expecting nothing more than the usual pleasant chat they'd come to love from Britain's most trusted television personality. "Good morning and welcome back to Lorraine," she began with her characteristic Scottish warmth, her eyes twinkling as she addressed the camera. "Now we're absolutely delighted to have Prince Harry joining us this morning to talk about his wonderful new project supporting veterans. Please give a warm welcome to Prince Harry." The studio audience erupted in polite applause as Prince Harry walked onto the set, but something seemed different about him from the moment he appeared. His usual easygoing demeanor was replaced with an almost palpable tension. His jaw was set firm, his shoulders rigid, and there was an unmistakable coldness in his eyes that even the studio lighting couldn't warm. "Harry, lovely to see you," Lorraine said, rising from her chair with genuine enthusiasm. "Thank you so much for coming in to talk to us about this fantastic initiative. I know our viewers are going to be absolutely fascinated to hear about it." Prince Harry settled into the guest chair with an audible sigh, his posture immediately defensive. "Yes, well, I suppose we should get on with it then," he replied curtly, barely making eye contact with his host. Lorraine's smile faltered for just a moment, but her professional instincts kicked in immediately. She'd interviewed thousands of guests over her decades in television, and she knew how to handle difficult personalities. "Of course, absolutely. So tell us about this new Veterans Support Program. What inspired you to get involved?" "Look, Lorraine," Harry began, and there was already an edge to his voice that made the studio audience shift uncomfortably in their seats. "I think we need to be clear about something here. This isn't just some celebrity charity project I'm doing for publicity. This is serious work, important work, and I'd appreciate it if you could treat it with the respect it deserves." The atmosphere in the studio changed instantly. Lorraine's eyebrows raised slightly, but she maintained her composure with the skill of a seasoned professional. "Of course, Harry. No one's suggesting otherwise. We're here because we genuinely want to support what you're doing and help spread awareness. That's what we do here on the show." "Is it though?" Harry shot back, leaning forward in his chair with an intensity that was making everyone in the studio uncomfortable. "Or are you here because having a member of the royal family on your show is good for ratings? Because let's be honest about what this really island?" The camera operators exchanged glances, unsure whether to keep rolling or cut away. In the control room, producers were frantically whispering into their headsets, trying to figure out how to handle this unexpected turn. This was live television, and there was no taking it back. Lorraine took a deep breath, her professionalism never wavering despite the increasingly hostile atmosphere. "Harry, I can assure you that's not the case at all. We've had you on the show several times before, and it's always been because we believe in the causes you're supporting. Our viewers care about these issues." "Your viewers?" Harry repeated with a bitter laugh. "Your viewers don't care about veterans, Lorraine. They care about gossip and drama and getting a peek behind the royal curtain, and you know it." The studio fell silent, except for the low hum of the cameras. Even the usually chatty audience was holding its breath, sensing that something was about to explode. Lorraine's face remained calm, but those who knew her well could see the flash of steel in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Harry, but I have to disagree with you there," she said, her voice steady but firm. "Our viewers are some of the most compassionate, caring people in Britain. They've supported countless charities and causes over the years, and they've done it because they genuinely want to help, not because of celebrity involvement." Harry's face darkened, and his voice rose noticeably. "You're patronizing me, Lorraine, and you're patronizing them. Everyone knows this is all just entertainment dressed up as journalism. You ask the safe questions, I give the prepared answers, and everyone goes home feeling good about themselves while nothing actually changes." "That's simply not true," Lorraine replied, and for the first time, a hint of irritation crept into her voice. We've raised millions of pounds for charity on this show. We've changed laws. We've saved lives. We've brought real issues to national attention. Just because we do it with warmth and kindness doesn't mean we're not serious about it. The tension was becoming unbearable. Harry was gripping the arms of his chair so tightly his knuckles had turned white, and his breathing was becoming visibly shallow and rapid. Warmth and kindness? He spat. Is that what you call it when you invite someone onto your show under false pretenses? When you make them think you actually care about their work when really you just want to boost your ratings? Lorraine's patience was clearly being tested, but she continued to maintain her professional demeanor. Harry, I'm not sure what's brought this on, but I can promise you that's not what's happening here. We invited you on because we genuinely want to support your Veterans Initiative. If you'd like to tell us about it, we're listening. Don't you dare talk down to me like I'm some difficult child having a tantrum, Harry snapped, his voice now loud enough that viewers at home were likely turning up their televisions to make sure they weren't missing anything. I know exactly what this is, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. The show was spiraling completely out of control, and everyone in the studio knew it. Lorraine glanced briefly at her producer in the wings, who was making frantic hand gestures, but she turned back to her guest with the same steady professionalism she'd maintained throughout her career. I'm not talking down to you, Harry, she said quietly. I'm trying to understand what's upset you so we can move forward and talk about the things that matter to you. That was apparently the wrong thing to say. Harry's face flushed red, and he shot up from his chair so violently that it rolled backward and nearly toppled over. The sudden movement sent a shocked gasp through the studio audience, and several crew members instinctively stepped forward, unsure of what might happen next. Move forward? Harry shouted, his voice echoing through the stunned studio. You think this is about moving forward? This is about respect, Lorraine, something you clearly don't understand. When it comes to dealing with people who actually matter. The words hung in the air like poison. Even the cameramen, who had seen everything in their years of live television, were visibly shocked by the venom in his voice. Lorraine remained seated, her hands folded calmly in her lap, but her eyes had gone steely cold. People who actually matter? She repeated quietly, her Scottish accent becoming more pronounced as it always did when she was truly angry. And who exactly are you suggesting doesn't matter, Harry? Harry began pacing back and forth in front of the guest chair, his movements erratic and agitated. You know exactly what I mean. You sit here every morning, playing the friendly chat show host, pretending you're just like everyone else, but you're nothing more than a glorified gossip merchant trading on other people's lives. The studio was so quiet you could have heard a pin drop. In homes across Britain, viewers were frozen in front of their televisions, unable to believe what they were witnessing. This wasn't just a difficult interview anymore. This was character assassination, live on national television. Lorraine's voice remained steady, but there was steel beneath the calm surface. Harry, I think you need to take a moment and consider what you're saying. You're attacking not just me, but the entire team who work incredibly hard every day to bring our viewers stories that matter. Stories that matter? Harry laughed bitterly, throwing his hands up in the air. Like what, Lorraine? Like which celebrity is wearing what designer dress? Like who's having whose baby? Like what the latest royal scandal might be? That's not journalism. That's voyeurism. For the first time in the interview, Lorraine's composure cracked just slightly. She straightened in her chair, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of 30 years in television journalism. You clearly haven't been watching our show, Harry. Yesterday, we featured a story about a mother fighting to get life-saving treatment for her disabled son. Last week, we highlighted a young man who started a food bank in his community. Tomorrow, we're talking to teachers about the crisis in education funding. If you think this show is just celebrity gossip, then you haven't been paying attention. Harry stopped pacing and whirled around to face her, his eyes blazing. Don't lecture me about paying attention. I pay attention to everything, every slight, every patronizing comment, every fake smile, while people like you profit from our misery. The personal nature of the attack was clearly affecting Lorraine now, though she continued to maintain her professional demeanor. People like me? Harry, I've been doing this job for longer than you've been alive. I've interviewed prime ministers and paupers, celebrities and ordinary people with extraordinary stories. I treat everyone with the same respect, and I've never profited from anyone's misery. Haven't you? Harry shot back, moving closer to her chair in a way that was making the security team at the edge of the studio very nervous. Every time there's a royal story, every time there's drama in my family, your ratings go up, don't they? Every time we're in pain, you and people like you get richer. Lorraine finally stood up, and though she was considerably shorter than Harry, her presence filled the studio. That's enough, she said quietly, but her voice carried to every corner of the room. You can be angry at the press, you can be angry at the world, but you will not come into my studio and accuse me of profiting from your family's pain. That is completely unfair and utterly untrue." "Unfair?" Harry's voice rose to a near shout. "You want to talk about unfair? How about having every moment of your life dissected by people who've never done anything meaningful themselves? How about having your every word twisted and turned into something it wasn't? How about having your genuine efforts to help people reduced to publicity stunts by small-minded television presenters?" The personal attack was the final straw. Lorraine's eyes flashed, and for the first time in the interview, her anger showed clearly on her face. "Small-minded? Harry, I've dedicated my entire career to giving people a voice, to shining a light on issues that matter, to bringing communities together. If that makes me small-minded, then I'll wear that badge with pride." Harry was now practically shouting, his voice echoing off the studio walls. "You wouldn't know a real issue if it bit you on your perfectly media-trained backside. You sit here in your comfortable studio asking your comfortable questions, while real people are struggling with real problems that you couldn't possibly understand." The audience gasped audibly. Several people looked genuinely frightened by the level of aggression Harry was displaying. In the control room, producers were shouting over each other, trying to decide whether to cut to a commercial break or let this car crash continue to unfold live. Lorraine took a step toward Harry, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, but every word was crystal clear. "You have no idea what I understand, Harry. You have no idea where I came from, what I've been through, or how hard I've worked to get where I am. You're standing in my studio, attacking my character, insulting my work, and disrespecting every person who works on this show, and you think you're the victim here?" "I am the victim here," Harry exploded, his face now bright red with rage. "I'm the one who's been hunted by people like you my entire life. I'm the one who's had to watch my family torn apart by gossip and lies and manufactured drama. And that gives you the right to attack me?" Lorraine shot back, her own voice rising now. "That gives you the right to come into my studio and treat me like I'm responsible for every bad thing that's ever happened to you? I didn't chase you, Harry. You came here. You asked to be on this show. You wanted to talk about your charity work, and I was more than happy to give you that platform." Harry was trembling with rage now, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Platform? You think this is a platform? This is a circus, Lorraine, and you're the ringmaster, getting everyone to dance for your entertainment." The metaphor was too much for Lorraine. She straightened to her full height and looked Harry directly in the eyes. "If anyone's putting on a performance here, Harry, it's you. This entire outburst, this whole display of righteous indignation, it's the most dramatic thing that's happened on this show in 20 years, and you know it." The words hit Harry like a slap in the face. He stared at Lorraine in stunned silence for a moment, as if he couldn't believe she'd had the audacity to call him out so directly. Then his face twisted into an expression of pure fury. "How dare you," he whispered, his voice dangerous and low. "How dare you suggest that my pain is a performance?" "I'm not talking about your pain, Harry," Lorraine replied steadily. "I'm talking about your behavior. And your behavior right now is completely unacceptable." That was the moment everything exploded. Harry took another step toward Lorraine, his face contorted with rage, and pointed his finger directly at her chest. "You smug, self-satisfied little woman! You think you can sit there and judge me? You think you can psychoanalyze me on live television? You're nothing. You're a nobody who got lucky and landed a television show, and now you think you're some kind of expert on human nature." The studio erupted. Audience members were on their feet, some shouting, others trying to move toward the exits. Security personnel were moving quickly across the studio floor. In the control room, someone finally made the decision to cut Harry's microphone, but his voice was still audible as he continued his tirade. Lorraine stood perfectly still throughout the chaos, never taking her eyes off Harry, never backing down despite the intimidating display of aggression aimed directly at her. When she finally spoke, her voice cut through all the noise like a knife. "Get out," she said simply. "Get out of my studio, get out of my show, and don't ever come back." Harry's mouth fell open in shock. Clearly, he had expected Lorraine to back down, to apologize, to try to smooth things over. Instead, she had done something no one had expected. She had stood up to him, called him out, and told him to leave. "You can't throw me out," he sputtered, looking genuinely stunned by this turn of events. "Watch me," Lorraine replied calmly. Then she turned to the security team that was now surrounding them. "Please escort this gentleman from the building." As security moved in, Harry's shock turned back to rage. "This is unbelievable. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is how you people treat anyone who dares to tell you the truth." But Lorraine had already turned away from him, walking back to her chair with perfect composure, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. She sat down, smoothed her blazer, looked directly into the camera, and smiled that warm, familiar smile that had welcomed viewers into their homes every morning for decades. "Well," she said with remarkable calm, "I think we'll take a short break there, and when we come back, we'll be talking to the lovely Sarah about her amazing work with rescue dogs. Don't go anywhere." The last shot viewers saw before the commercial break was of Prince Harry being escorted from the studio, still shouting and gesturing wildly, while Lorraine Kelly sat serene and unshaken, the very picture of professional grace under pressure.